The Stoics believed virtue, not popularity, is the highest good. Justice, courage, wisdom, temperance. These qualities remain valuable whether millions applaud them or no one notices at all. Character is the only reputation you truly carry everywhere. Now imagine yourself years from today, looking back on your life. Which regret would weigh heavier? Being disliked for living honestly, or being liked for living as someone you were never meant to become? One path offers temporary comfort and lifelong emptiness. The other demands temporary discomfort but leads to lasting freedom. That is why true confidence requires the courage to be disliked by the masses. Because confidence is not the belief that everyone will accept you. It is the quiet certainty that you can remain faithful to your values even when they don't. The crowd changes its opinions every day. Trends rise and disappear. Public admiration fades as quickly as it appears. But a life built upon virtue outlasts every passing opinion. So the next time criticism finds you, pause before defending yourself. Ask a different question. Is this exposing a flaw in my character, or simply revealing that I refuse to betray my principles? If your conscience remains clear, let the criticism pass like wind through the branches of the oak. In the end, the Stoics leave us with a challenge that is as demanding today as it was in ancient Rome. Stop asking whether the world approves of you. Instead, ask whether the person you become each day is someone you yourself can respect. Because when the applause fades, when the critics grow silent, and when you finally stand alone with your own thoughts, only one opinion will remain with you for the rest of your life, your own. Build a character so strong that even solitude becomes peaceful, and you will discover the confidence that no crowd can give, and no crowd can ever take away. Imagine a sculptor carving marble. Every strike of the hammer appears destructive. Pieces fall away. Dust fills the air. To an observer who doesn't understand the process, it looks like damage. But the sculptor knows every removed fragment reveals the masterpiece hidden within. Criticism often works the same way. It chips away at false identities, forcing you to discover whether your confidence was built upon truth or applause. There is another paradox the Stoics understood. The people who fear rejection the most often experience the greatest anxiety. They constantly monitor every conversation, every facial expression, every social interaction. Their minds become crowded with imaginary judgments. Meanwhile, those willing to be disliked gain something infinitely more valuable than popularity: peace. Peace is not the absence of criticism. Peace is the absence of dependence on criticism. This doesn't mean becoming cold, arrogant, or indifferent to others. Stoicism never teaches emotional isolation. It teaches emotional sovereignty. Love people deeply. Serve others generously. Listen with humility. Accept correction when you're genuinely wrong, but never confuse another person's opinion with objective truth. The strongest people in history were rarely those with the loudest supporters. They were those whose convictions remained steady, regardless of applause or opposition. Their confidence emerged from alignment between their actions and their principles. Perhaps the greatest obstacle is realizing that not everyone will understand your path. Some friendships will fade when you begin setting boundaries. Some colleagues will question your ambition. Some relatives may interpret your growth as rejection. This is painful, but growth has always required letting go of identities that no longer serve us. Today's culture constantly pressures us to become marketable versions of ourselves. We edit our personalities, soften our convictions, and shape our lives around algorithms designed to maximize approval. We become experts at appearing successful while quietly fearing rejection. Ironically, the more masks we wear, the less confident we become. Because deep down, we know people aren't accepting us, they're accepting the performance. Epictetus offered an uncomfortable challenge. If you wish to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. At first, these words seem almost impossible to accept. Why would anyone willingly embrace misunderstanding? Because freedom begins the moment you stop negotiating your identity with strangers. Think about the last time you remained silent to avoid criticism. Perhaps you agreed with something you knew was wrong. Maybe you ignored an opportunity because someone might laugh. Maybe you abandoned a dream because it wasn't considered practical. Those moments seem small individually, but together they slowly erode your soul. Confidence isn't built by collecting compliments. It's built by surviving disapproval without abandoning your values. This is why courage and confidence are inseparable. Courage comes first. Confidence follows. Every courageous decision becomes evidence that your peace no longer depends on the crowd. Every uncomfortable conversation strengthens your independence. Every rejection you survive teaches your mind that external opinions cannot destroy your inner worth. Marcus Aurelius repeatedly reminded himself that people criticize based on their own perceptions, experiences, fears, and ignorance. They rarely see the whole picture. Why then should we surrender our peace to judgments formed from incomplete information? Seneca warned that he who seeks the favor of the crowd cannot remain true to himself. This wasn't arrogance. It was psychological wisdom centuries before psychology existed. The crowd rewards conformity, not authenticity. The masses celebrate what feels familiar and resist what challenges their beliefs. Every innovator, every reformer, every courageous thinker has eventually discovered this painful reality. History repeats the same lesson endlessly. Socrates was condemned, Jesus was rejected, Galileo was ridiculed, countless scientists, artists, and philosophers were mocked before history recognized their contributions. Their confidence did not come from universal acceptance. It came from unwavering commitment to truth as they understood it. The Stoics never promised that living virtuously would make you popular. Quite the opposite. They believed that integrity often isolates you because it forces you to reject comfortable illusions. When you stop pretending, some people become uncomfortable. When you establish boundaries, some will call you selfish. When you refuse to follow the crowd, others may label you arrogant or strange. Yet none of those judgments alter who you actually are. Picture an oak tree standing alone during a violent storm. The wind attacks it from every direction. Smaller plants bend with every gust. Some are uprooted entirely. The oak remains. Not because the storm approves of it, but because its roots reach deeper than the surface. Confidence works the same way. Shallow confidence depends on external weather. Stoic confidence grows from internal roots. Epictetus, born into slavery before becoming one of history's greatest philosophers, taught that some things are within our control, while everything else is not. Our judgments, our actions, our character, these belong to us. The opinions of other people never have, yet modern life convinces us to reverse this order. We obsess over likes, followers, promotions, and social validation while neglecting the only thing we truly own, our character. Imagine carrying a mirror everywhere you go, except the mirror doesn't reflect your face. Instead, it reflects the opinions of everyone around you. One person says you're brilliant, and suddenly you're smiling. Another calls you a failure, and your entire day collapses. Would you call that confidence? Of course not. That's dependency disguised as self-esteem. Marcus Aurelius understood this better than anyone. As Emperor of Rome, he possessed unimaginable power, yet his private journal, later known as Meditations, reveals a man constantly reminding himself not to chase admiration. He wrote, "The approval of such people, who do not even stand well in their own eyes, has no value." Think about that. Even the most powerful man in the Western world recognized that public approval is an unstable foundation. Ask yourself a difficult question. If everyone around you suddenly disagreed with your choices, but you knew deep inside you were acting according to your principles, would you continue? Or would you slowly betray yourself until the applause returned? This question separates confidence from conformity. Most people never notice how much of their identity has been outsourced. They choose careers because they're respected. They stay in relationships because leaving would disappoint others. They hide their ambitions because success invites criticism. They silence their opinions because disagreement feels dangerous. Slowly, they become strangers to themselves. Have you ever wondered if the reason you feel so uncertain isn't because you're weak, but because you've spent your entire life asking the wrong people for permission? Every day, millions wake up and unconsciously surrender their peace of mind to strangers. A comment online, a disapproving glance, a family member's opinion, a colleague's criticism. They become prisoners of applause, terrified of silence, addicted to approval. But more than 2,000 years ago, the Stoics uncovered a truth so unsettling that most people still refuse to accept it today. True confidence is impossible until you become comfortable being misunderstood, criticized, and even disliked. Imagine a young Roman walking through the crowded streets of ancient Rome. Merchants shout for attention. Politicians compete for popularity. Philosophers debate in public squares. Everywhere he looks, people desperately perform for the approval of others. Wealth, status, reputation, everything revolves around what the crowd thinks. Sound familiar? Because despite smartphones replacing marble forums, very little has changed. Human beings still crave acceptance as if their survival depends on it. The tragedy is that most people mistake approval for confidence. They believe confidence means everyone liking them. They think being admired proves their worth. But this creates an invisible prison. The more approval you seek, the less freedom you possess. Every compliment becomes a drug. Every criticism becomes a wound. Your identity no longer belongs to you, it belongs to whoever is watching. This is exactly where Stoicism begins.